Okay, to me video I did yesterday, uploading sites to Bootstrap Studio server. Okay, and what's caught my attention on a comment and by somebody who really wants to learn about web design and things. I'll not put his name on there. It says, Night Shooter, do you use Laravel or other? I'm nervous not knowing how to make a BSS site dynamic, my SQL, e.g. hiring someone to do the backend anyway. Thanks. This thing about dynamic thing, I've had this question a lot, so this is not by any means the first time. Okay, a lot of people, and especially newbies, think that the only way you can have dynamic sites is by PHP. So I looked at something which is, I just put a search in, okay, and just get rid of this giveaway of the day thing. All right, so I come to this, and it was one of the first things that had come, and it's called, I'll get rid of this as well. Just give it a second. Hang on a minute. Everything's going all at once. Okay, it's called Pluralsight. It was one of the first things I saw, right? And it's the difference between a static and a dynamic website, okay? It has to be one of the most stupid articles I've read on web design. Guys, all I want you to do is be the best you can, and I always try to help everybody out, and I gain nothing by it myself apart from, you know, like sort of if somebody finds things helpful, makes me feel good. And you know, I've been around web design for 17 years now, and I've read some stupidity. And for you people who are coming into interests in web development and web design, it must be so difficult, you know, to get a lot of things, you know, for example, people think they've got to learn PHP to be a professional web developer. They don't. So anyway, I'll just go down this article. Static website versus dynamic website. Okay, so a static website is HTML, CSS, and JS. A dynamic website is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MySQL. Okay, so what makes static and dynamic websites? There is a difference, but what is the difference? And it goes in about static, but what makes dynamic? Okay, there is a simple way to determine if a site is dynamic, if you can interact with it. Right. Well, I thought if you can interact, I see this all over the web, and I think, what a load of hokum. Okay, going back, and years and years ago when I did this at college, okay, I was very sick with hepatitis and ME and a few other things. So when I was starting to get better, I wanted to know what I could do from home, and the web was just taking off. So I wanted to do that. So I did a college course on web development. Okay, so this is the JavaScript thing. I've probably mentioned this before on here. Anyway, there was a book, but I've had to, I don't know where that is. Anyway, there's 6 months yet. Hang on. Where am I at here? There's 6 months of stuff on here. Just JavaScript. Hardest thing I've ever done. Pure JavaScript. It was, the CSS wasn't there before. Okay, you know, there was CSS around, but it wasn't really all that thing. Anyway, you probably can't see me see this because it's very, very bright here today. Anyway, it's about anagram games and hangman and times tables and stuff like that. Okay, and it is when things are tutor led, they sometimes are better. Anyway, this is. I still buy reference books just to keep us up to date with what's going on. Okay, all right. So if you just took this as on the face of, this is PHP. Okay, let's get that right. You'll see that code your own dynamic website today. Okay, so that's PHP. So this particular site, not the first and not be the last, says you cannot. JavaScript isn't dynamic, and bang your head, honestly, I nearly banged my head on the table because it's so stupid. Okay, this is from years ago, absolutely, nearly 20 years ago, I think. Anyway, if you look at the title on there, okay, I know things have changed, but if you look at the title on there, your visual blueprint for building dynamic web page, got that? JavaScript, okay? That's JavaScript and PHP. So if you can interact with something, it's dynamic. And like, what do they think? These people who write this rubbish, they must think DHTML never existed. It never existed. It's still there. It's just called HTML5, but it's not called that. It's stupid. They're just playing with its semantics. Okay, this is a site that I've done years and years ago because I could see the way this thing was going. Okay, and it's called DHTML Rocks. Okay, as I say, built it years ago. Loads of programs I've done over the years, and a few of them on here. This site is responsive, by the way, but the thing is some of these apps don't work with every browser, but all of them you can interact with. So it's dynamic. DHTML, dynamic hypertext markup language. That's what it says. It doesn't have PHP in, but like sort of, God, some people click me. So you're interacting with it, even on something like that, okay? And then you've got, like sort of other things. I've got rock, paper, scissors, I've got quiz games, calculators. Almost all of them you're interacting with. And why people don't think JavaScript is an interactive language, I have absolutely no idea. Years ago, we used to use JavaScript for forms. But like sort of, obviously, it wasn't secure, and that's a fair enough point, Anyway, like sort of with things like, Bootstrap Studio coming in, I just wrote this down, showing what you need to be, where you want to go and what you want to do. Okay, so I've got this just put this in Notepad. Okay, so I'm on the left here, I've got what you need to be a web designer, and this is all in the modern world. Okay, a web designer only needs HTML and CSS3. Okay, plus knowledge of Bootstrap /Foundation /Bootstrap Studio or the like. Okay, before I start making videos on Bootstrap Studio, I didn't really like Bootstrap. I used to use Foundation, but this here, this tool here, by you using this Bootstrap Studio, you could be a web designer. Okay, as long as you know a bit about HTML and CSS3. HTML, if you do, say 5 days a week, a few hours on the night or whatever, whenever you got time, you can do the HTML in a few weeks. CSS3, which is the one, it's got fancy stuff, with it as well. Now, so CSS3, you could be a pretty decent web designer in probably a couple of months, really. Problems comes when it comes to programming, which is not easy if you learn it properly, okay? But, all these things on here, a lot of them are drag and drop, but I'd rather on this site, if that's all you want, well, that's fair enough, but I'd rather on this site, learn you how to code. Okay, next one down is web developer. Okay, so to be a web developer, HTML, CSS3, and the addition there is JavaScript, which is, I've put pure because there's a difference between libraries and JavaScript. So to me, you should be learning a pure JavaScript, and the rest is easier after that. Okay, so that's what I think. And you can be a front-end web developer. JavaScript, if you want to really learn it, within about, I would say, 8 or 9 months, you could be a web developer of, you're always learning. There's things I haven't got a clue on sometimes, but you're always learning. It doesn't matter how old you are or how long you've been at this game, but it would be arrogant not to, and I'm always trying to update my skills as well. Yes, jQuery or other library is an optional I've put, and of course Bootstrap Foundation and Bootstrap Studio, all the like. Again, another thing that I should have put in here is something called for web designer and well, all of them actually, is something called Emmet, which is, once you know how to code, it really, it's lightning fast for to get your code up there. But that's the foundations that you need to be a front-end web developer. Now, a full-stack web developer. You need HTML, CSS3, JavaScript, JS library, again optional, PHP, MySQL, and another backend language optional. I mean, the thing with PHP on its own is, in my view, easier than JavaScript. The problem with it is that on your local machine you might have a server, but that, say for example, forms, if you have it on your server, it doesn't actually marry up sometimes to the one you've got online, and there's a few other things with that. And to be quite honest, I know PHP, but I find it one of the most. If I learned just PHP, I wouldn't be doing this because it would bore stupid. Some people are different though. PHP is a challenging thing, but if you want to be a full stack web developer, again, it's something that you're always going to be learning. But I'd say it would take you a few years, 2 years, to become proficient, fluent. It's like a language. If you learn any language, it's going to take a long time. If you can learn one language, one programming language, the easier ones. If you learn one, you can see where the syntax of the other comes in and stuff. But PHP and MySQL, I find it jaw-droppingly boring, and it's something I've had to learn, and I've got videos on here. But like, so there's things like I've wanted to show about putting it into something like Bootstrap Studio. But it's very difficult because it's the front end tool. But with the new smart forms in here, you can actually use the PHP that's actually in the servers. So I hope you found this video. If I'm open to discussion on anything, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, if you don't agree, just say you don't agree. I mean, like, sort of, who am I? The thing is that I'll go. I did a video a little while ago about doing a poll on this site as well. Please, guys, if you can, few seconds it's going to take, because I've only had 10 or 11 votes on there. I'm interested what you want to do. What you want to do in 2019. What's your goals and this type of thing? I mean, a lot of you have them. I know you do, because you keep getting in touch with us by email, which is great. So again, hope you've found this video, of some benefit. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.